And today, we're just seeing this familiarity and acceptance of stablecoins. Back then, it was like I come in to buy Bitcoin because I want access to crypto. Now it's like, well, I want to come in first to get access to stablecoins because that's the first place to be, right? You're in crypto land, but you may not be familiar with the price volatility or which asset to invest in and things like that.
That's Jason Lau from OKX. With nearly a decade at OKX as Chief Innovation Officer, Jason has a unique perspective on how stablecoins have transformed at the exchange from just trading instruments to now genuine payment rails going through all of their different product lines. His early cross-border payment experience taught him that market timing really matters, but demand for global, instant value transfer has never gone away. In this conversation, we reveal how OKX navigates global regulations while abstracting complexity, and why they joined the Global Dollar Network. Here is our amazing episode with Jason. Season 5 of Stableminded is powered by the Global Dollar Network, the fastest growing stablecoin network in the world. Anchorage Digital, Kraken, Paxos, OKX, Robinhood, WorldPay, Bullish, and many others are earning real revenue from stablecoin activity across minting, custody, and payments. At the core of the network is USDG, a US dollar-backed stablecoin issued by Paxos. Global Dollar Network shares reserve yield directly with its partners. Join the network moving the ecosystem forward. Visit globaldollar.com/network to learn more. Jason, how are you doing, man? Thank you so much for joining us.
How's it going, Drew? Thanks for having me.
I feel like I have the best job in the world. I get to spend a full hour with some of the brightest minds, people like you who are pushing everything that we like to cover here on this show, stablecoin innovation and where some of the top companies in the space are going, where that puck is moving. So I feel like people like you who are in the positions you're in are some of the most compelling people to spend time with. Really peel back the curtain a little bit on what's going on. So yeah, excited for this. This has been a really fun season so far. We've been discussing with the Paxos team USDG, and we've been meeting a bunch of network participants in that ecosystem, hearing about how they're working with that team. And we'll cover a little bit of that today, but I'd love to start with what you're doing at OKX. You've been there for quite some time, and I'd love to start the beginning of the conversation really focused on your journey there, which has been, sounds like in the early days, you focused on stablecoins a little bit, and you've had some pivots or interesting moves along the way. So yeah, take us back to the early days of OKX, and we can start with what you're currently doing, and then we can rewind the tape a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Look, it's great to be on. It's always fun chatting about crypto, but nowadays stablecoins and all the cool use cases that hopefully this enables. Now, I've been with OKX for 9 years and change now, so it has been a little while. The company was founded in 2013, so not the earliest, but yeah, throughout the years, I've done a wide variety of roles. Today, I'm Chief Innovation Officer, and really what that means is just thinking about how we look at crypto, how we look at the innovations in our space, and how we apply that to our users. And that's today, stablecoins is obviously a big part of that. But previously, I worked on things like our institutional team, our business development teams, did some work on our listing side, came over to the US to build out our US business 6 years ago. So yeah, quite a lot of different things. So happy to chat about any of that.
For people who are just getting to know OKX, coming from my perspective, I'm coming from the exchange world with Coinbase. So I highly regard OKX and the presence that you guys have in that business. But for those who might be less familiar with the business, could you give a high level overview of how OKX got into this business to begin with, some of those key things that you've added along the way, or the core business that you're in now, what parts of the world you guys are really focused on? Stuff like that would be really great for folks who are just getting to know OKX.
Yeah, we are, OKX is a crypto exchange, but we do a lot more than that today. Like you said, if you're familiar with us, you probably do know us as a place where you come to buy and sell crypto. We started off in Asia, 2013, and we've since grown to be a global platform. We service 70 plus million users today, and I think the number is over 100 something different countries. What that means is really users come to us to access the crypto space broadly, whether it's from buying your first crypto, Bitcoin, learning about Bitcoin, learning about crypto, getting access, like I said, but also trying to figure out how to explore and learn about other types of crypto, what to do with that crypto once you've acquired it. We also have a growing and we're pretty proud of this growing wallet product stack. This is a self-custodial wallet that a lot of users are now really starting to dive into to allow users to self-custody their own crypto, right? After you bought it, you can take it off the exchange, put it in your wallet, and then go and explore all the cool things that are happening on chain. You might have heard of DeFi, right? Decentralized finance and lending, borrowing, a whole bunch of cool stuff. And I think this ties nicely back to that stablecoin focus because a lot of these use cases are enabled and powered by the sort of rise in acceptance of stablecoins.
Absolutely. You mentioned when we were discussing before this a little bit about the early days of stablecoins in the journey of the business with OK Link. Tell us a little bit about what that journey or that chapter was like for the business and yeah, your involvement in that, which it sounds like was pretty big.
Yeah, so when I joined OKX in early 2016, crypto landscape was obviously much different. There really wasn't much happening. I think we had Bitcoin, we had Litecoin, Ethereum
Can I
was
pause
just
you just to pause on this? Like 2016, right? Like that was for even for many people who started hearing about Bitcoin and a lot of this stuff was during this 2017 bull run. I think a lot of people, myself included, that's really when this stuff started to become like very commercially and just compelling because of that price action. What how did you get to what was your first exposure to be in a position where someone like you had a very successful existing career at that point from what it looks like to then go pivot that career or change directions to go jump into this crypto. Give us a little bit of like when you first got to know about this and what gave you that conviction to go make that leap in the first place.
Okay, I used to be in TradFi. I worked at Barclays in the past, and the first time I heard about Bitcoin was I think 2011, and it was a joke that we were talking about it on the trading floor, right? Like, what is this crazy stuff? What are people trying to do? This obviously can't work. So I was a skeptic for many years before making that pivot. And prior to 2017, there was another price run in 2013. I don't know if you remember. I think even Newsweek or Time had Bitcoin on their cover. Bitcoin hit $1,000. And so that's when I was like, okay, well, as an investment, this might be something worth exploring. But it wasn't really until 2016 or 2015, 2016 when I more seriously considered, hey, this is not going away. Look at the merits of the technology, look at what the possibilities were. There's just a lot of chatter back then, 2014, 15, about what this technology could enable. It turned out a lot of that ended up being built outside of Bitcoin. But no, it was just intellectually very fascinating. The fact that the industry was still around gave me some comfort that there was an opportunity here. And that's when I joined OKX at that time, really to help us expand out of Asia to become more of a global platform. Our founder Star really, right from the onset, saw crypto as something that was borderless and global and envisioned his company to be the same. And we're pretty fortunate to have gone through that journey and now are a global company. So it's been fun.
So you joined the company. What was it like from a personnel employee standpoint? Like, were you working directly with the founders?
Yeah, we had probably had a few dozen people. Today we're in the thousands, right? So
Yeah,
very
it's
different.
wild.
Just very different landscape. But yeah, I mean, it was also a simpler time back then. Like I said earlier, we really only had, we only support two assets, Bitcoin and Litecoin. I remember when I joined, there was a lot of clamoring from the community about, hey, you guys should support Ethereum. You guys got to list Ethereum. And we were like, what is that, right? Let's learn more. It
Just for
had just
buy, like just
launched.
buy, sell,
Yeah.
right? Just very
Yeah, this
straightforward
is
buy,
just buy,
sell.
sell. Yeah, just providing simple access from a trading perspective. So yeah, different days, as you can tell. And you mentioned 2017, which really was that first explosion of the sort of explosion of crypto assets, and that changed the landscape quite dramatically. Just to touch upon what you brought up about us touching stablecoins early on in 2016. So when I joined, global expansion, obviously one thing, but we were also trying to figure out what could crypto and this technology be used for. And so that's where we landed on, well, and credit to others too. And at that time, Ripple was thinking about the same thing. Stellar was thinking about the same thing, where how do we use crypto to power cross-border payments? And that's where our product, OK Link, was born about, which was really to use Bitcoin. And at that time, we had something called an OK dollar, which was a synthetic stablecoin that was used within the network. And Tether had already come about, right? So it's, again, we're not taking credit for any of this stuff. There were these primitives in place already. But the challenge really was going around to all these regulated financial institutions globally, convincing them about crypto, number one, the technology, number two, and then number three is like, why they should be using this stuff. That was a very interesting time. Fast forward to now where everyone's like, oh, stablecoins, of course, that's a no-brainer. We're just in a very different landscape now.
Yeah. So OK Dollar, this was something that you and your team were running with. What was the go-to-market approach here, and what actually happened with that? Like, what did you ultimately learn, or what eventually happened to that product? And I'd also love to learn from you how you look back on that time now, like if you would do things differently or how you would approach it differently now, knowing what we know.
Look, at the end of the day, the product we wound down the product in 2017, and a lot of that was due to market timing, but also the explosion in activity around crypto broadly, right? And it gave us a new focus as sort of on our trading side, our exchange side. The product suite was dramatically expanded, and so it was just a bit of a timing issue for us. But also, what I learned was that some of these things just take time, right? When we went to talk to a lot of these financial institutions, I remember going to one of the investment banks in Hong Kong and giving a talk about Bitcoin. And these guys were just, everyone was skeptical, right? Everyone in the room was skeptical that how this possibly could work. And so I think for us, education was important, but also just understanding the timing and really responding to what users actually wanted was probably our biggest lesson. We were trying to force or offer something that wasn't quite ready yet for them, for the users. Despite that though, we had over 200 financial clients. A lot of these are remittance companies and payment companies around the world in over 40 different countries that had signed up to the OK Link network at that time. And we were seeing good volumes back and forth. So, I think it was a very early proof of concept that I think today with companies like Bridge and others are now really Conduit and others are now really trying to tackle. It's still a problem that I'm talking about global cross-border payments. It's still a problem that we're all working to solve.
Yeah. Synthetic dollar, when you say that, so how did you actually architect that high level? Like, what was the way that you tried to achieve this sort of stablecoin settlement system at that time? What did that look like?
Yeah, because we built this on top of our existing exchange infrastructure. Again, back then our infrastructure was way more primitive, and it didn't really. I think today we have much more transparency around how it works. The reason why I call it synthetic dollar is because we could only use it within the network itself, even though it was, if I recall correctly, it was issued on Omni, so it was issued on the Bitcoin network back then. So again, settlement times, all that stuff, fees, and all that stuff. So it really wasn't. It was just, I would say, an early concept as opposed to a true stablecoin as we would classify it today.
Yeah. Do you feel like you knew sounds like you wind this down, you focus more on where a lot of the commercial excitement was, of course, at that time, and still is exciting, which is listings and crypto as an asset class, and there's so much there. Did you know kind of deep down, or what, when you look back on that time now, because now we're in this stablecoin moment, we're in this stablecoin wave, and these on-platform stablecoins or synthetic dollars, or there are all these different use cases that are so exciting. Did you at that time get a small taste of those sort of things? Like, was this something at the team as you're leading it for the company, just you kind of knew in the back of your mind, like, okay, this is going to come back someday? Or have you been pretty blown away of like, wow, the level at which stablecoins and something like OK Dollar, the level at which this is now achieved, we're kind of blown away by? Like, somewhere in the middle. I'm curious how you feel about the current moment we're in.
Yeah, I think over the years, so we've been supporting stablecoins as an exchange, as a platform, since the earliest days, right? Like you just mentioned, and throughout the years, even though our exchange was built for more of a trading purpose, we see users that come to us very often that say, hey, look, can I use your platform for sending assets? It could be Bitcoin, it could be other assets, but sending assets to my client, for example, overseas. So those use cases kept on popping up, right? So it's not like just because we didn't offer it, you see others, mostly Tether really at that time, but there was constant demand for it, right? people are using it, one, as a trading instrument in itself, as a hedge and all that, but also for, like I said, for payment purposes via the infrastructure that was not designed for it. And so in the back of my mind, to your point, I think there's always this, when is the right timing? Because like I said, that's the problem. The frictions that we face with global payments today have not been solved, right? And so this technology does seem like it, and it still is a great fit for solving those problems. And so maybe now is the moment. I'm very hopeful.
Yeah, since you brought up trading, we've seen, I think, in the last year or 2 years, like a huge shift or evolution from stablecoins being used as like you mentioned, like a trading utility to get things done more effectively or quickly if I'm making a trade on chain or something like that. What's it been like from your perspective, working where you work, seeing stablecoins just generally being used for the user base? Like, would love your perspective, almost a decade in now, like just how you've seen something like a USDT or other stablecoins on OKX, how they've been interacted with over time, how that's evolved. Would love also to hear more around your self-custodial product now, and like maybe how those types of users are using stablecoin assets. Like, give us kind of because in my view, I think what you probably will say in some ways is like the evolution of stablecoins themselves throughout time. So I'd love your perspective on that.
Right. So, like I mentioned early on, stablecoins from a trading perspective was a place to park your assets, as a hedge, right? Like you didn't want exposure to, you thought the market was going down, Bitcoin's going down, so you needed to park it in something that was not correlated. And so it found an instant use case around as a trading position. But once you have that trading position, and this happens over time, is what do you do with it, right? You have institutional users, you have sophisticated traders that are like, well, if it's sitting there in my account, I want to at least earn something from it, maybe, or maybe I could post it up as collateral for my other positions, right? And so as those use cases and mostly the user demand for those use cases arose, that's where we built our product suite to match, right? And so, right, today you can use it as collateral, you can margin it out, you can lend it to others to make some interest, to earn some interest on that. I should caveat, obviously, not all of these products are offered in all jurisdictions, but broadly, you could see this demand for stablecoins to be used when it's not actively deployed into crypto as a position. And so then you get further down into retail where, okay, it seems like sophisticated players are very comfortable holding stablecoins. Maybe I should be too. And these are less sophisticated traders, right? So you might expect more of their assets are parked in stablecoins. And again, they have desires to put those assets to use. And we saw sort of over the past few years this rise in stablecoin yield, and where do you get those yields, right? Then you look to the DeFi protocols, the Aves and compounds, which really open the door for people to use the stablecoins on exchange, right? On exchange, we have earn programs that allow users to connect to DeFi protocols and things like that. But then once they're familiar with that, it's like, okay, well, we educate and we encourage people to take these assets off the platform. You can hold them yourself in your self-custody wallet. You asked about what they're doing, right? And it's these, if the exchange is not able to offer me the access to the protocol I want, the DeFi protocol I want, or, that's where, we're encouraging users to take it into their own wallet and connect directly with the protocols themselves, right? And again, that's where that stablecoins come as such a core piece of that puzzle, because once you have it, you can really do anything else out there.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the evolution we're seeing. And today we're just seeing this accelerate, right? Where the familiarity and acceptance of stablecoins, not just with like crypto natives that have to walk through this journey over time, but even new users are like, well, back then it was like I come in to buy Bitcoin because I want access to crypto. Now it's like, well, I want to come in first to get access to stablecoins because that's like the first place to be, right? You're in crypto land, but you may not be familiar with the price volatility or which asset to invest in and things like that.
Yeah, it's a super different user priority, right? Like someone who's trying to enter OKX because they want to go, put a strategic position into Bitcoin or Ethereum in 2018 or something. Like it's a very different type of customer or user than what you just said of like someone who's coming in for a stablecoin focused use case. Like, tell us a little bit more around maybe this leads into that self-custodial wallet product or these different things now that you see that are serving stablecoin focused users, or these users probably aren't even maybe even calling themselves stablecoin focused users? They're thinking of maybe what are the problems they're trying to solve, or the priorities that they have as they come to OKX, maybe more on this like new wave of stablecoin focused users. What are you seeing that they're really trying to accomplish when they're coming to you guys?
So there's probably two types of users, right? If we focus on the newer set, an example would be actually I was chatting with our Brazil team, and one trend that they highlighted was just this need for people to get into, or sorry, their desire to get access to dollar-based accounts and hold their assets in US dollars. And stablecoins turns out to be a perfect use case for that, is they're just onboarding, converting Brazilian reais into stablecoins. And that's it. That's all they're happy with that, right? Like that's a very basic, to us, probably a very basic use case, but to them, that's something that they never really had access to before. It's this pretty powerful tool where users just have access to dollars, and you can see this across many different countries that don't have that easy access. And then two is people that are, to your point about taking it off the exchange and going into the self-custodial space. For our wallet, we sort of looked at how we design for ease of use, and today our wallet supports, number one, it's a cross-chain wallet, right? Meaning it supports over 100 different blockchain networks. And obviously stablecoins and DeFi protocols reside on different networks. And so what we strove to do at the onset was to make sure that users that do take assets off the exchange have a very familiar interface whereby we can abstract away or make it very easy for them to access the networks that they want, the stablecoins on which asset networks that they want, and then ultimately whatever they want to do on those networks, right? Whether if you're trying to do something on Solana, but you have your USDC on Ethereum, you need to be able to very seamlessly swap that and access the protocol. And so that's what we built the wallet around. And I think it really hit a nerve where early days, I don't even remember, you had to switch networks and just like figure out where your assets actually were. And so that was the approach we took, was just simplifying everything and supporting as many different things as we could. And so when users do take their assets onto that wallet, that's the sort of universe that they get now exposed to, right? They have the stablecoin. It doesn't matter what chain they have it on. We have a Discover tab within that wallet that allows them to see all the earning opportunities that they have. And that's across different chains. And so they can very seamlessly pick and choose, deploy their assets to whatever use case they want.
When I'm thinking through like the Brazilian use case, right? Like there's so many different ways as a business to approach that opportunity, like that dollar access trend that a lot of people are seeing right now, that something like a US dollar backed stablecoin solves for a ton of people in emerging markets. You have the first party wallet approach where OKX has a branded wallet, it's theirs. You can go download that thing or use that self-custodial app. It's very different in my mind than OKX saying, we're going to build APIs and infrastructure tools and things that allow for builders or developers to go do something like that themselves. How do you think about that?
Right. So, a lot of the infrastructure that we've built for our branded use cases, we've actually opened that up also to developers to use. I think that there's a lot of work to be done there too. And that in itself is a full-fledged product, if not business line. And, while we've opened it up, I think we could probably do a better job of marketing that. A lot of our tools are actually available for people out there to build on. So I'll give you a couple examples. There are actually, and again, we don't, it's not our core business, and we haven't really marketed as such, but there are other wallets out there that are building on our stack, which I think is very cool. And one public example is that Phantom Wallet, for example, utilizes our OKX decentralized DEX API to power some of the swaps that they enable within their wallet. That's just an example of one feature that we've built for OKX wallet users, but we've opened it up and others can use it and access it too. It's an easy way for users to convert between stablecoins and other crypto assets across chain. And so beyond that, obviously, there's also other APIs that we open up, pricing APIs. A lot of businesses do use our exchange stack and API stack to power their business, to manage treasury management or liquidity management and things like that. So but I think to your point, I think it's a open space where I think we probably could do a better job in marketing that.
Do you want to win both? I feel like it's sort of like you said, it does feel like there's so much opportunity that it's almost like doing one or the other really well. It's still like an incredible business. I'd almost my own like this is me speaking, like my own opinion, like it almost seems like trying to do both at this point really well is would be extremely difficult because doing something first party versus building it as a service and doing that, at least from a go to market standpoint, in my mind, is so different. Like doing a go to market for an API infrastructure is so different than a first party branded OKX wallet. Do you have preference on how you're thinking about that? Or maybe that sounds like something you're kind of chewing on right now.
Look, I think our preference is generally we focus on building what our users want and what they communicate to us. So I think, and then once we built that, we try to see how we can open it up and, allow others to use it. I think just to pivot back slightly on the stablecoin focus, one thing that we've been building these days for stablecoin usage is the ability for users to really seamlessly come to OKX and go between stablecoins of their choosing. More specifically, we recently announced that users that have US dollars on platform can very quickly swap it one-to-one, no fees, to USDC as well as USDG. And so these are tools that obviously work for exchange users, but we're also we're encouraging others to come and take advantage of these primitives and build their businesses on top of this use case, right? At the end of the day, it's a bit of we're an infrastructure provider in a sense, right? We're providing the access to liquidity, we're providing the access to crypto management and storage, as well as all the APIs around that. And then obviously on the Web3 side, we also do the same. That's sort of where we like to be, is providing that infrastructure. And to your earlier question is whether we're focusing on the users themselves or perhaps a new user set where they're just solely building and using our APIs. It's a mix. It's hard to say that one takes preference over the other, but where the users come and give us that feedback, we're going to focus on that.
Yeah, I know I'm going a little bit off script. I told you I'd probably do this.
Oh no, all good.
So you I think described this to me earlier as like OKX is a stablecoin hub. You really, as an infrastructure hub for multiple stablecoin assets like USDG. Speak a little bit about the vision you have for issuers, folks like USDG, or speak to how you guys are working with them specifically. It might be a good time to open that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at the stablecoin space, much like yourselves and many others, and trying to figure out where are we headed, right? Like, are we going to end up with 1,000 stablecoins? Like, I don't really know what the answer is, but I do know that our users come to us for access and liquidity. And where that demand is for stablecoins, we want to be there to provide that to our users. And again, like I said earlier, they should be able to come to us and get access as cheaply and quickly and as seamlessly as possible. That's what we're trying to do. So, we obviously today support USDT, we support USDC and others. And, USDG is something that we just recently announced support for. And so, it's an exciting time to be able to say, hey, look, there are all these different stablecoin models and issuers, and we're responding to our users' demand for them. I think that's what's really exciting today. What was your question specifically about USDG?
So yeah, specifically on USDG, obviously, like as I've definitely come to find through doing this season with them, it's very different in how they've structured it compared to the other two that you mentioned. From your perspective as the chief innovation officer here, you're thinking about everything we're saying. What was the thought process for you and your team on why you wanted to do this integration with them? What does that look like for you guys? What are the benefits there for either OKX as a business in the network or the institutions or users that are participating with that asset on platform? Like, give us a little bit. I think a lot of people, institutions or other people like yourself who are in this position of like adopting something like USDG or models like it or currently talking about like, why would we do this versus other things? Should we issue our own stablecoin? Should we park value in one versus the other? How did you guys think about it over on your end?
So USDG was particularly appealing to us, mostly because of the network and consortium of players that have come together. We actually joined USDG as one of their core members. I think we announced that a couple months ago, and that it's just really great for us because within that network of members, there were players that were quite diverse in geographic distribution, but also use case. For example, one of our, we are licensed in Singapore, and one of the banking partners we work with is DBS. DBS was a member there too, and we were able to get just real comfort around the trajectory, sort of pooling of interest. I mean, sort of like not payment interest, but like just the excitement around working together to advance a stablecoin. I think that was a bit unique and new, and that was something we wanted to participate in. We obviously think the model itself, whereby marketing incentives are distributed to the players that contribute to the growth of the stablecoin, was a new and interesting one. And so we thought that would be something that would be good for our users. And indeed, we've been seeing sort of that interest from our users. And so again, we're in lockstep with our users, what they're demanding. We were able to push that through.
Really cool. So it seems like this is terrible model in my mind, but it's kind of like you're evaluating going to a party or an event or something, and you're like, who's going? Who's on the list? And I agree. I think the network participants that team has amassed in a very short amount of time is very impressive. If it were a party, I would want to be there based on who's in that mix. It sounds like for you that was a pretty big thing that your team was impressed by.
And also, I think just the fact that the setup was in a way such that each member of this party or group are incentivized to, or positively incentivized, right? Like incentivized, right? So I think that's the big thing. It's not like a party where we're all here to beat up on each other. We're all kind of working together towards something. I think that was the key thing, and it's designed in a way where you contribute, you get incentivized. There's really no, or very, a lot of the frictions around how consortiums might work were thought of and worked out. So I thought that was a key part of it too.
Are there other network or consortium models out there like this? I'm not as familiar with, in my mind, USDG and is one of the only ones.
You would probably know better than me.
I should know this, but I was really compelled by this because it was one of the few that I've seen. You have like M0 doing the sort of M extensions, white labeled sort of stuff. You have Braille doing interesting things like this, where it's kind of like a shared infrastructure backend that's regulated or not. Like there are differences there, but like the USDG global dollar network approach from a go-to-market seems really unique to me, which was why I was hounding them for months trying to get the season off the ground. So it's interesting. We'll see. I think Paxos as a business, from my perspective, just has so much history being in the business that they're in, having the licenses they have, the trust they've built. They're in a really unique position to do this. So we'll see if other companies try to do the same.
Yeah, and just that, I mean, like it's obviously early days for besides Tether and Circle and USDC. It is early days for everyone else to try to establish those network effects and early adoption. So I mean, I think it's a very interesting model. We're just very excited to be working alongside all these partners to. But that said, look, at the end of the day, users pick which stable coins they want to use, right? Like, to my point earlier, we're here to facilitate what our users want. And, we still work very closely with a lot of the other stablecoin issuers because, they're different use cases, and stablecoins will end up focusing on different use cases or geographies or things like that. So we'll see.
Yeah. Do you, if I'm an institution or someone using OKX today, what does either currently or in the future, that experience, what is that going to look like for USDG or others? I was talking to Ronik earlier in the season around, maybe users won't even need to know it's a USDG stablecoin. Maybe it feels like something that's native to OKX, or maybe it's not something that feels like a Paxos thing. Like, I haven't used the exchange in this way yet. Maybe it's live, but just tell me a little bit more around like how this specifically takes shape within the product today or in the future.
Yeah, we've thought long and hard about this. And Today, well, actually, just a couple of weeks ago, we announced our unified US dollar order book concept.
Interesting.
And just to be clear, that all that is it allows for users to trade on our US dollar trading pairs with USDC and USDG as if they were just US dollars. Right. I mentioned earlier that you could USDC and USDG currently on platform are fungible. So, there's no, realistically, if they were to trade on that dollar order book, owning USDG or USDC is the same as owning US dollars. And practically, what that means is someone that holds USDG now has access to the entire liquidity set of the US dollar order book pairs, which is a lot. And so, to your point, it's a user that prefers to hold USDG, use USDG, and are depositing onto OKX. The access for that asset, USDG, is now dramatically increased. This is something that we just announced, and we're looking to roll it out globally very soon. And already the institutional interest and demand for that has been tremendous. We've gotten a lot of inbound requests just to see, hey, how do I activate this? How do I use this? Because it really is, it streamlines, again, makes that usage of the stablecoin itself quite seamless on platform.
Yeah, I mean, are these the people who are coming to you and really excited about this announcement? Are these trading focused companies or institutions that are doing a lot of active trading, and is that the persona specifically that you're seeing kind of light up for this?
Yeah, they're trading focus for sure, but obviously there's different strategies that these trading firms take. One, it could be a market maker that holds and works with a wide variety of stablecoins and appreciates the fact that on OKX you could just very seamlessly use them as if they were dollars. Or two, it could be treasury management companies that are also looking perhaps for yield or other opportunities, and they prefer to hold one stablecoin versus another. And again, appreciate the fact that they can go back and forth very easily. So it's a wide variety. And even more so now, we're starting to hear about, I don't know what the term is for these companies, but they're like stablecoin enablement kind of companies, maybe like a bridge or something. I'm not naming specific client names, but something where they're helping other businesses use stablecoins in various different places. And they also come and say, hey, look, if I need to get one stablecoin, I know I can do it at OKX. If I need to swap it, I know I can do it at OKX. And so increasingly there's that interest too, because it's free, right? There's no fee to it on our platform. They can very seamlessly manage their stablecoin book.
Orchestration,
Yeah,
I think is the word.
orchestration was a word. Yeah, that I was trying to get at. Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. It's so cool. Was it a pretty big on the product side to it's interesting how this is kind of a full circle moment going back to what you said in the early days of like how trading and using USDT or something like that was sort of a trading use case that originally like was how people used stablecoins. It's kind of a beautiful full circle in some ways. Was that a pretty significant product related? That seems like kind of in the beneath the foundation scaffolding of the product. Like, what was it like to go do that shift?
Yeah. I mean, you're right. There's a lot of work behind the scenes, right? And a lot of it actually comes to, there's a lot of risk. Teams that have put a lot of hard work into assessing, you have to account for all the scenarios of a stablecoin depeg, a market move, a whole bunch of things, right? And we've obviously seen throughout even recent history challenges around banking, challenges around all these things where they need to be assessed. So our risk teams played a huge part in making sure that this product is scalable. What happens? What are the sort of circuit breakers? Things like that. And we need to have all that built up. And then two is also making sure the payment infrastructure that supports that and the regulation and the sort of that openness now for banking partners to work with our industry has changed. That has allowed for some of this to be more sustainable. Making sure that there's easy ability to mint and redeem. We can do it at scale. That it's all algorithmic and programmatic, and we have all the checks and balances in place. That was also a big behind the scenes moment. And then lastly is like how do you package that up in a way that on the front end a user can experience it, experience all these stablecoins as fungible on the trading side. So I think we still have more work to do actually going forward as we think about how to add more stablecoins into that mix. How do we make sure that users understand why that's valuable to them?
Yeah, it's really exciting.
We're constantly working towards that. Yeah.
Yeah. Jason, you've been you're reaching your 10-year mark here at OKX. That's a huge deal. How are you going to celebrate this, by the way? This is big. Do you have any plans?
10 years is sometime next year. I have yet to think about that. Truthfully, you know as much as I do, you having been in the
That's a
space at
big deal.
Coinbase and others.
In crypto, you don't see a lot of people who have been at a firm that long who've been grinding away.
But
It's pretty
it's
cool.
like there's just so much happening. Things change, and there's always something to be excited about. We're always just heads down, trying to keep at it. Maybe it is a time to take a breather. I don't know.
Working at a crypto exchange for a decade from today, 10 years back, is like 30 years in real world time. So, I mean, just congrats on the journey so far. It's been a wild. I'd love to hear from you, just like the, now global remit you have overseeing this product, and it's the way that it's innovating and different around the world. You've mentioned like there are certain jurisdictions, for example, that have certain features or certain things that you can or can't do. Two-part question. What's it been like for you, especially in the last 5 years, specifically navigating the product in that way, versus maybe how you feel today with passing of Genius, and at least in the US, how much momentum I think we're feeling around stuff like this from a government approval standpoint. What's that been like for you, in your perspective, given how much of a wide aperture you've seen?
Okay, at the end of the day, all the credit that goes to our teams, right? Like we have fantastic product teams, fantastic engineering teams, and sort of legal and risk teams to make sure that everything we deliver to the market has gone through all those checks and balances and assessments and all that. And so that's really where, I see as a firm, as we've grown from, our earlier stages to now, is we have really good people that are able to make sure that what we deliver work in a way that we've communicated to our regulators, to our all of our various stakeholders, right? And so all the credit goes to them, and that's always, like I said, it's a work in progress for us always as we look to build stuff that really satisfy and work for our users. And so when you talk about look now, right, with the passing of the Genius Act, I think what we've been seeing, and this excites me a little bit, is that we're now seeing this momentum carry forth to other countries too. Hong Kong just put their stablecoin bill and framework into effect. And we're hearing chatter from, and we're getting a lot of conversations going with local players about either local currency stablecoins or efforts in local countries where they're thinking about how this might play out for their region. One cool fact I saw, and I think this reflects how early, but also the growth, is that non-US dollar stablecoins have now crossed 1 billion worth, which is still a drop in the bucket compared to whatever the 270, whatever number we're at today totally. But it's a little bit of a milestone where I think we're going to see really tailored use cases for stablecoins locally. And because we operate in all these different areas, I think that's exciting for us to be able to build products that are able to touch and impact our local users.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the non-USD stablecoin world and how that's going to shape out. And there's so much opportunity, to your point. Like we're barely just scratching the surface with, really, in my view, what that layer provides is actually allowing for full end-to-end products to exist that resemble the fiat landscape on chain fully. Like you actually need what Mento Labs is doing or what Minteo is doing. You need these types of companies to exist in order to bring those products to life. So I'd love to do a podcast season on that sort of thing too. Like that's really interesting.
Maybe next season. I think we're on the cusp of seeing how some of these things play out.
Yeah, that'd be fun, man. Well, Jason, this was really great. Thank you so much for the time. We're excited to continue following OKX and the relationship that the business has to stablecoins and helping bring that technology in all of its different forms. What I love about stablecoins in this context is it's not one single thing. It's embedded and kind of nestled into all these different crevices of the product and the business and how it works. So just thank you for
Yeah,
the insight and thank you for
and
the time.
I didn't even get a chance to talk about what we've yet to announce, and maybe we'll come back for another show about that. We earlier this year we talked about our Pay initiative, which is very stablecoin focused, and that's really allowing and focusing on allowing users that have assets on our exchange already on our platform today. What can they do with stablecoins? We have yet to announce a lot of that, but yeah, we'll save that for another show.
Man, you got me hooked now. So wait, say this again. So this is a user on the exchange
Yeah, so
and
just,
giving them.
OKX user, if they have, what can they do with their stablecoins they have on exchange? We talked about some of the trading utility. We talked about some of that early sort of financial utility, but, we use dollars and currency in much more than that, right? And, obviously payments is a big, big part of that, whether it's paying to family, friends, merchants, whatever it is, we've got a lot to announce down that side of the suite. So,
Well,
yeah, excited to come back.
we'll get you on Stable Dash Live, or we gotta
That's right.
stay in touch about when that time comes. When is the rough timeline? I even hesitate to ask. I know product folks hate this question, but when is the rough timeline
It
for
will
that
definitely
announcement?
be, fingers crossed, definitely before the end of this year.
Okay, awesome. Well,
Yeah.
Jason, thanks for the time, man.
Thank you, Joe.
Really excited for the world to hear this.
Thanks for having me.